One of our daily newspaper in its headline screamed national security threat and makes reference to the situation at the Camp Street prison in Georgetown. Now, this is a very serious situation and one that needs to be addressed. To address it, I have with me the Honorable Khemraj Ramjattan, Minister of Public Security. Minister Ramjattan, I am sure you'd be the first to agree such a headline national security threat must be answered. Pointing to the situation at the Georgetown prison. Now, I can understand security at the prison. You can't go into too many details. But first, is this headline accurate?
It is not accurate in my opinion, though we do have a situation that is abnormal at the prison, and the evidence of that abnormalcy is being indicated to members of the Commission of Inquiry as it's presently going on there, and we are seeing what prison officers have been indicating to be a very dire situation. However, that situation is more or less under control, and that's the information I am getting from the Director of Prisons and other senior officers from the prisons. As a matter of fact, only today, a member from this ministry and the Director of Prison have headed off to Mazaruni to ensure that we get a more comprehensive set of facts as to what we have to do at Mazaruni prisons to ensure that we can take some more prisoners there, especially the long-term, high-profile prisoners. And they have gone there to do what is called the groundwork and the factual situation as to where and where we can start ensuring some infrastructural work for both prison officers and the prisoners themselves, so that we can have at least a minimum of 120 to 150 prisoners go there. It will be more or less a medium-term kind of infrastructural rehabilitation of Mazaruni for purposes of getting the prisoners out from a Georgetown scenario. And they've gone. But that screaming headline does, I must say, do an injustice to the situation by saying it's a national security threat. We have the situation under control. There has been a number of things that we have done, largely getting the army to help out outside of the perimeters of the prison, and also inside of the perimeters of the prison, getting police ranks to help, especially tactical services unit. And that has helped in the situation. We know that because of the very, very bad attitude of prisoners towards the prison warders, doing a number of very reprehensible things, like throwing things at them, threatening and so on, that indeed it has kind of damaged the morale of certain prison officers. But the majority of the prison officers, I understand, have indicated that these are but normal threats that you would have almost every day.
Okay.
And we have to win back that kind of morale in the prisons. And we are doing that presently by virtue of having the support of both army officers outside and policemen inside. And to that extent then, that this screaming headline has it. Look, I want not to go and start being very aggressive against the press. The press has its role to play.
Yes,
and if the press, in its opinion, would like to carry headlines of that nature, they must be responsible enough to understand that it can have far-reaching effects. And I had thought that at least there should be some more responsibility in relation to headlines. There is no national security threat, in my opinion, and based on all the information we have gotten. And there is nothing that will not be controlled and contained by the ministry and also the police and the army. And so indeed it is very difficult a situation. I could understand prison warders speaking to the press about these, because from that news in the Chronicle, it did indicate as if things are really bad.
Yeah.
Indeed, as I would like to say, things are not normal because of what has been happening. And of course, the prisoners have gotten a new, to use the local vernacular, a new sponge. They are now having cell phones. They deal directly with certain opposition members, I understand. They deal directly with certain newspapers, reporters, and all of that. We have to utilize whatever messaging we are getting from all of this, and to use as part of our intelligence to deal with the situation. And we are dealing with it. I would not go so far as to tell you the operational matters that we have, because of course that's national security and public security too.
Yes.
And we have it under control. We have moved out, as you know, a number of prisoners to other prisons
Locations, yeah.
who have been instigating, and we have tried to scatter them, as it were. One of the disadvantage of that, as you'd appreciate, is that you hope that you're not going to have that kind of leadership being perpetuated at the other prisons,
yes.
so that we can have
You do
at
run
least
that risk.
3 or 4 places where it can happen. But you know, this is but a situation that we inherited. We really need infrastructure for more prisons in Guyana, or at least to increase the capacity of a Mazaruni type. We have decided that that is the best short-term measure to take, short-term, medium-term to take. And the President has spoken very eloquently on the need, and very clearly that this is how it's going to be. We have a huge problem with the revenues to deal with new prisons. It is not going to be easy, because prisons is extremely expensive and infrastructural work. And with the economy as it is not going to be that we're going to go out there and have next year a brand new prison to accommodate 200-300 people. It's not going to happen.
You have to think between building a prison and building a school, for instance.
Exactly,
or a
and we
hospital.
do have a huge other priorities. And the priorities will be, a lot of people are asking, why not with monies that can go towards prison and so on, increase the capacity of policemen, the prison officers, getting them better trained, getting better salaries for them.
Yes.
And of course, that is indeed where I would want to put my priority at this stage, and to utilize that Mazaruni prison, as the President has argued, for some more infrastructural work. And that is why we have sent in 2 very important personnel in relation to prison from my ministry and the Director of Prisons to go do what is called the checks on the ground as to what can be done. We will have to pass that to infrastructure, then we'll have to pass the estimates cost there to the Minister of Finance for purposes of getting the money to do those work. It's very tight, very, very tight, and I know lots of other juvenile justice, as I indicated in a major address that I gave at Pegasus in relation to that bill. To ensure what is going to be needed there will require funding too, as I mentioned. And so it's not easy in the present circumstances. We are looking for some overseas help, and we are very much reassured that indeed some help will come in that regard.
Okay, Minister, not wanting you to go into too many details, but what can you share with us in terms of the day-to-day regular operations of the Georgetown prison, the Camp Street location? To what extent has it returned to, let us say, normalcy, the regular checks, searches, that sort of thing?
Well, I understand that there had been a proposal to have the prisoners checked again, as was so routinely done, because we understand, since I've come in as minister, lots of people have been throwing in items. We have rogue elements within the prison rank, the prison officers' ranks too, who would carry in telephone and sell it and get, I don't know, the monies from the the family members who are going to give them. It is somewhat with a certain element there, a very rotten situation, quite frankly, and that's a very strong word I'm using because indeed some of these prison warders do take in equipment.
Yeah.
We are trying to screen them off and to have them terminated. But evidentially, too, that's a very difficult thing sometimes.
Yes.
It is not easy. But it's a lot that is being thrown in, and that is why we have cordoned off not only Camp Street now, but all the 3 other streets,
Durban and the
John
surrounding streets.
and Hatfield, for purposes of getting to the bottom of it. And the CTV cameras that are there to ensure that that can be avoided. We feel that we must shore up that with also another method that has been proposed, and that is to put a kind of a net there that is going to catch these items rather than them falling to the ground for purposes of ensuring that prisoners are going to get them. And also, and a couple of other things, knowing the intelligence as to who will come at what point in time, and we are sharpening on that, so that we can avoid all these miscellany of items that they have now with them. The regular checks will have to be made, but of course we know that every time the regular checks are made, it instantaneously stirs the prisoners into some riotous conduct. I mean, look what happened at Diamond Police Station cell. I mean, they demanded cigarettes, they couldn't get cigarettes, and they started a fire. Of course, the police is close by, and we managed to get that under control. But we have to do lots more infrastructural work in the medium and long term to get this situation remedied because of what we inherited as a government. This hasn't happened for some 22, 23 years under the PPP. And I don't want to make it political, but I rather suspect that this should have been happening long time before. And so all have now come onto us for having to do, and of course monies might not be there, and so we will have to do as best as possible as we are doing. But it is not, as their screaming headline would have it from the Chronicle, a situation that is that dire to, you know. Of course, we have to treat it as important for us and significant a development. And I will be speaking to the director of prison, and I will have to also speak to some other senior officers, because indeed it is a situation that can get bad, like happened in March 3rd. And we do not want that to happen. So we have been utilizing a method of talking to the prisoners, utilizing a method of trying to gain their confidence again that their human rights are going to be met, with the trials that are going to be asked of the judiciary. And of course we have already gotten from the Chancellor of the Judiciary a number of programs to be done, one of which is the night court, more magistrates, and of course that alone is taking up some monies. The amount that the Chancellor has estimated is far in excess to what the Minister of Finance has presently. But we're going to work to see where we can get some supplementary funding for purposes of ensuring that these trials can be done, preliminary inquiries, trials, and also to get magistrates to give remand prisoners some reductions in bail, so that we can, affordable bail, because they must take into consideration that too. And that would start immediately, I understand.
Okay, Minister, you have been accused of being soft on prisoners, but before you respond to that, have you had an opportunity to review with your other heads of the discipline forces the response time should a situation arise at the Camp Street prison or any other prison?
Look, in relation to that, the response time is going to be very, very quick, because there is communication and dialogue going on all the time with the heads of those departments, and especially Mr. Hicken, who's the commander of the division. And as happened at Diamond, as happened at the prison, they were there almost instantaneously. It called for judgments as to what they're going to do thereafter. And I want not deaths to occur. I have been very strong on that because, as you know, from a very long time, I have been more or less a human rights-oriented lawyer. And we are not going to go and start shooting up and do all kinds of nonsense. Some people want me to do that, but no, we're not going to do that. We're going to check out the situation, and as it occurs, we're going to respond. But we're not going to go there, as some people have been asking me, why not? Go there and clean them up. No, that's not the way. And you do not deal with national security and public security issues that way. It requires a very mature deliberation, very much to be expedited, but not to just go and, as people say, take charge and shoot up and do all kinds of things. No. We are going to be measured in our response. We have to be cautious about the human rights situation, about how overseas people and human rights bodies are going to treat with these issues. And so it is going to be very, very much a situation that will cause for mature deliberation, as it were.
Okay, I think you would have touched there on reports or accusations that you're going soft on prisoners. Minister Ramjattan, before we close, we are in Jubilee celebration. What assurances would you give to not only the local population, but the diaspora, our friends from overseas who are going to be visiting us, the dignitaries from other countries? What systems are in place? What assurances do you give that as much as possible this environment is going to be safe?
The environment, I am going to give the assurance and an advisory, as it were, that we are going to be safe for Jubilee celebrations. I cannot get into the details of operations that are in place, and I know of those operations. Operation Dragnet has been made public, but bolstering these will be operations at the level of the division, operations at the level of the prison itself, that are going to be in place to ensure that we do not have riotous conduct again. Of course, we can't say that it is going to be something that will be impossible and total, no. Because you don't know what the prisoners are going to do, what they will be up to. But whatever they will be up to, we are going to meet those and contain them. And it will be safe for Jubilee celebrations. We intend to put out lots more people in the street. We intend to ask for traffic cops to also come on board to ensure that we have more or less a disciplined kind of trafficking in the streets of Georgetown, to the extent of having, like what happened here this morning, everything being pre-planned so that we can have a safe, very stable country in the next month coming on to the Jubilee celebrations. We are going to get support from all the disciplined services: fire, prison, the police, and the army. Well, the army, of course, might not be regarded as disciplined services at this stage. I am talking about the public security element of it, not the national security element. But at any time we need the support of the army, we are getting it.
Okay.
Anytime we need it. And that has happened at the prison, with the outskirts of it being helped. And we are asking members of the community policing group to be there.
Good.
And we are also asking the national, the general population to help out in this regard. And that advice have been coming in as to what we have to do, and we are helping them to appreciate our difficulties too. Because the demands and the claims are heavy on security.
Yes.
And we have also gotten support from international bodies who are going to come in to help in other aspects of security matters, like trafficking in persons. Interpol is there.
Yes.
The Drug Enforcement Agency branch here has indicated that all the support that we need, we're going to get. The United States Embassy have indicated that. And the ABC countries, all of them, have indicated whatever support that we need, especially for this kind of celebrations, they are going to chip in.
Wonderful.
And that is going to be a huge thing. What we need is confidence from diaspora members to come in. Look, crimes have been reducing all along this year, as against 2013, 2014, 2015, the earlier part.
The rate
And the
of incidents.
confidence level of the policemen have been increased because of a lot of things that we have done, the seminars they go on, and the other workshops that they have all around. And even with Justice Education Department, a support body coming from Canada, we are here. We understand too that the Canadians are going to do, I only talked to the Canadian High Commissioner yesterday, and he has indicated that there is a program now that is going to help in relation to matters security to the tune of about 3 million Canadian dollars. We're going to do some concept notes as to what that money should go into, because they want us to see doing concept notes as to programs that will help, and so that we can get that money for the next 3 years. At least for the short term, I understand they could do, once we get our programming right, about 750,000 US dollars. And so it is all Canadian dollars, sorry. So it is all part of the support that they will bolster with us. And of course, the Drug Enforcement Agency helping out too.
And the British with the security.
The British
sector
is going to work. They are now working out with a group now called I think it is called. I forgot what's the name of it, but they are now working to work out a plan for that £5 million that we're going to get. So, for medium term and long term, we are going to get their support, but they can come at any time to help in relation to the short term too.
Minister Ramjattan, thank you for the opportunity to have this discussion. And I'm sure that we're going to be having many more discussions as the actual 50th anniversary date approaches. I thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for being here.